Have you ever felt like you were in a movie where the plot kept changing and you were always 2 steps behind? One day you're the main character, adored and celebrated. The next, you're an extra, ignored, confused, and wondering what you did wrong. If that sounds familiar, you may have been dealing with a narcissist. And here's the twist they don't want you to know. None of it was random. It was scripted. Today, I'm going to break down the psychology behind why narcissists play you, 13 reasons, and how each one keeps you trapped in their loop. By the end, you'll not only understand the game, you'll see the exits clearly marked. Let's start with a truth most people miss. Narcissists don't just want attention, they want control. Attention fuels their ego. Control protects their image. And your confusion? That's the glue that keeps both in place. So why do they play these games? Because games create power. Here are the 13 reasons, explained in the way you'll actually feel them in real life, so you can spot them fast and walk away faster. First, narcissists play you to secure a steady supply of validation. It's called narcissistic supply, and it's like oxygen to them. The more you react, whether it's love, fear, jealousy, or panic, the more alive they feel. That's why they start with a high, the love bombing phase. They flood you with compliments, mirror your interests, remember tiny details, and make you feel chosen. It's intoxicating. But it's also a setup. Once you're hooked on the highs, they can ration them out, praise when you comply, silence when you protest. Your emotional reactions become the vending machine they control. And because you remember the early magic, you keep paying, waiting for it to come back. Second, they play you to maintain superior positioning. Narcissists can't stand being on equal footing. Equality feels like vulnerability. So they use mind games to stay on top, subtle put-downs wrapped in jokes, backhanded compliments, or strategic comparisons to an ex or a friend. You'll hear things like, "I mean, you're great, but she just gets me creatively," or, "Most people think I'm too deep for them." These lines are weapons disguised as poetry. They're designed to make you doubt yourself just enough that you'll try harder to please them. The more you chase their approval, the less likely you are to notice you're being downgraded on purpose. Third, narcissists play you to protect a fragile self-image. Under the bravado is a paper-thin ego. Any critique, no matter how gentle, feels like an attack. So instead of owning mistakes, they twist the narrative. If you point out a broken promise, suddenly you're too sensitive. If you ask for more consistency, you're needy. If you catch them in a lie, they'll accuse you of being paranoid. This isn't random gaslighting, it's strategic reframing. They rewrite reality to avoid accountability. The goal isn't just to confuse you, it's to keep the mirror from reflecting anything they don't want to see. Fourth, they play you because tension creates attachment. Calm relationships feel boring to a narcissist. Chaos feels like chemistry. That's why they engineer emotional roller coasters, disappearing for a weekend, picking fights before special events, or showing up extra sweet after hurting you. Your nervous system gets hooked on the cycle, anxiety, relief, anxiety, relief. It creates what psychologists call a trauma bond. You mistake adrenaline for love and relief for proof that they care. But you're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the break in the tension they purposely create. Fifth, they play you to keep options open. Narcissists are collectors of admirers, attention, and backups. They'll keep exes as friends, flirt publicly while claiming it's nothing, or cultivate DMs they forgot to mention. The point isn't always to cheat. It's to keep you slightly insecure so you work for your spot. Triangulation. Bringing a third person into the dynamic manufactures competition. And when you compete, you're distracted from noticing the pattern. You're always auditioning, and they're always casting. 6th, they play you because ambiguity is power. Clear expectations invite accountability. Ambiguity keeps you guessing. So they'll be intentionally vague about labels, future plans, and boundaries. Let's just vibe. I'm not into titles. I'm complicated. These lines allow them to claim intimacy without commitment. And when you finally ask for clarity, they'll act offended. Why are you rushing this? You'll feel like you broke a rule that was never explained. That's the magic trick. The rules always exist, you just don't get to see them. 7th, they play you to harvest your strengths. Narcissists are opportunists. If you're kind, they'll call it naive and exploit it. If you're loyal, they'll test it until it breaks. If you're successful, they'll bask in your shine publicly and belittle you privately. They study you deeply at the beginning, not because they love you, but because they're building a user manual. They learn the phrases that calm you, the insecurities that trigger you, and the dreams that move you. Later, they'll weaponize that knowledge, to hoover you back in, to guilt trip you, or to promise just enough progress to keep you invested. 8th, they play you to dodge real intimacy. Emotional closeness requires vulnerability, and vulnerability terrifies them. So they perform intimacy instead, grand gestures, dramatic confessions, or deep, soulmate talk early on. It feels like closeness, but it's speed, not depth. When you seek real intimacy, healthy conflict, repair, and emotional accountability, they shut down, lash out, or withdraw. Suddenly you're too much, and they're overwhelmed. It isn't that they can't feel deeply. It's that true intimacy exposes the parts of them they spend their lives avoiding. 9th, they play you to project their mess onto you. Projection is their favorite mirror. If they're being dishonest, they'll accuse you of hiding things. If they're flirting, they'll become suddenly jealous of your coworkers. If they've grown distant, they'll say you're not present. This does two things. It keeps you busy defending yourself, and it lets them avoid the discomfort of self-reflection. In the end, you start policing your behavior while they continue theirs unchecked, a perfect arrangement for them. 10th, they play you because apologies break the spell, and they can't allow that. A real apology acknowledges harm and commits to change. A narcissist's apology is a performance. I'm sorry you feel that way. I guess I'm just a terrible person. Fine, I'm wrong. Notice how none of those take responsibility. They're designed to end the conversation, not repair the relationship. If you press for accountability, they'll escalate, tears, rage, or the coldest silence you've ever felt. The message is clear. Their comfort matters more than your healing. 11th, they play you because leaving you confused buys them time. Confusion is a cage. If you're busy entangling contradictions, they were so loving yesterday, why ignore me today? You're less likely to set boundaries. So they'll rotate tactics, love bombing, devaluing, breadcrumbing, ghosting, then hoovering you back. Each switch keeps you off balance. You'll journal, analyze, and replay conversations in your head at 2 a.m., while they sleep soundly knowing the spotlight isn't on them anymore, it's on your doubts. 12th, they play you to avoid endings on your terms. Control over the narrative extends to breakups. If you pull away, they'll suddenly change, promise therapy, or talk about the future they never wanted to define. If you move on, they might smear you to mutual friends, subtly imply you're unstable, or play the victim. Why? Because the story has to end with them as the misunderstood hero, or at least the one who got away. They cannot allow the version where you saw through the act and chose yourself. 13th, and most importantly, they play you because it often works, until it doesn't. Narcissists choose methods that are effective on good people: empathy, patience, hope, loyalty. They count on your values to keep you in the game. But your values aren't the problem, they're your superpower. Once you see the pattern, the spell breaks. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop needing their version of closure. You stop auditioning for a role you never wanted. So how do you break free from the playbook? Start with 3 shifts: simple, powerful, and non-negotiable. Shift 1. Move from feelings to patterns. Yes, the highs feel intoxicating and the lows feel unbearable. But ask this: what does their behavior look like over 6 weeks, not 6 hours? Patterns tell the truth that words hide. Shift 2. Move from explanations to boundaries. You don't need the perfect speech. You need one sentence and consistent action. This doesn't work for me. If they respect it, the relationship evolves. If they punish it, the data is in. It's not love, it's control. Shift 3. Move from fantasy to reality. The person you fell for, the charismatic, attentive, present version, shows up best in the first 45 days and in the last 45 minutes before you're about to walk. The real person is who they are in the middle, when comfort is high and consequences are low. Let's make this even more practical. Here are red flags translated into plain English, so you can feel them in your body when they happen. If you can't predict how they'll treat you from one week to the next, that's not spontaneity, it's instability. If you need evidence to prove your worth, screenshots, long paragraphs, proof you didn't mean it that way, you're already on trial in a court that doesn't recognize truth. If your identity is shrinking, less joy, less creativity, less connection to friends, it's not growing together, it's disappearing together, and only one of you is fading. What about the famous, but they're amazing when it's good? Exactly. That's why it's a trap. If the good times weren't good, you'd leave. The purpose of the highs is to sanitize the lows. That's why the first month feels like destiny. It's not magic, it's marketing. And no, that doesn't mean you imagined it. It means they used what was real, your kindness, your hope, your openness, against you. That says nothing bad about you. It says everything about the game. Now, a word to the part of you that still wants to fix it. You can't outlove someone's lack of accountability. You can't out-communicate someone's commitment to confusion. You can't outgive someone's addiction to taking. Healthy love requires 2 people who can look in the mirror without breaking it. If you're the only one doing that work, you're not in a partnership, you're in a performance. Here's the reframe you need to carry forward: walking away isn't losing the game, it's refusing to play. The moment you choose clarity over chemistry, peace over chaos, and consistency over charisma, the entire spell collapses. They may hoover. They may promise. They may smear. Let them. Your job is not to correct their story. Your job is to live yours. So let's recap the 13 reasons narcissists play you. In one breath you can remember when your resolve starts to wobble. They need supply. They need to stay superior. They protect a fragile image. They bond through chaos. They keep backups. They thrive in ambiguity. They harvest your strengths. They perform intimacy to avoid intimacy. They project to avoid accountability. They fake apologies to end conflict. They confuse to control. They hijack the ending. And they rely on the fact that good people keep trying. That's the whole script. If you're watching this and realizing you've been played, take a deep breath. You weren't foolish, you were loving. You weren't weak, you were hopeful. And you're allowed to change the story now. Start by returning to yourself. Sleep, water, movement, friends who know your laugh, work that reminds you of your competence. Block where you must. Journal what you learned. Replace, "Why did they do this to me?" with, "What made me ignore myself?" That's where your power lives. In noticing the moment you felt the truth and chose peace anyway. Next time, choose you sooner.